and Rich will jump in here because we only have a couple things to talk about. So I'll go ahead and call this special government operations committee meeting to order. And we'll start right off with scheduling the special election in legislative district number 2, City of Ithaca. And that's resolution ID 9833. Can I have somebody move that? Dan moves that. Mike will second that. And Steve, is there anything you want to tell us about this that we don't already know?
I suggested March 23rd because if you start the political calendar today, which is what you do with special elections, that any possible scenario that might play out and somebody getting their name on the ballot would take would get within 53 days, and we have to certify by 53 days prior to the date of the election. So if you use the 16th, it would be, you'd get within the 53 days, but the 23rd gets you outside the 53 days. And I think it keeps you inside what the county charter says. I forget how many days the county charter says it has to be done.
Okay. And how about any questions? Mike.
Yeah, my only concern was that it seemed like some of the dates like started today.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like we could actually do that because it's almost like we're voting on something that's already happened. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know if we could like actually do that as a government.
It's a good question. I mean, just going by the statute, the election law, it says, the first day to circulate independent nominating petitions is the day that you proclaim the special election. I mean, I've had a couple people ask me about that are going to do it, and I said, well, I would wait until the 6th. That way, there's nobody going to suggest that you were doing something before you guys actually acted, but it's just what the statute says. Day of the proclamation.
And then Steve, or welcome Elizabeth, I see you there too. So somebody has to petition to get signatures if they're not endorsed by a political party, is that correct? And how long is their petitioning period?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
Yeah. And the parties
right.
have 12 months.
Other questions? Dan?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. First of all, is there anything special about this special election? Because is there any executive order that changes anything about the calendar or anything like that? Or number of signatures needed?
No, not
unfortunately, no.
Okay.
All the things that happened last year with regards to signatures and absentee ballots for having a reason for applying for COVID, that all expired on December 31st. It would have to be a new executive.
Thank you. And my question is, will you be putting out a list, a schedule, a calendar, I guess, of all the steps that happen along the way? So if petitioning is going to happen, this is the time period, and this is when early voting starts and all that kind of stuff. Will that list be generated?
Once you guys proclaim it, it'll go up on our website tomorrow morning.
Very good. Thank you.
Great. That's great. And then we can publicize it and you can publicize it, and that's good to have that calendar. Henry, welcome. Go ahead.
Thanks. So there will be early voting for the special election?
Yes.
So 10 days before?
9 days, beginning the 10th day before, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And again, since everything expired on December 31st, there's no the absentee ballots, you need a reason to be absent?
At this time, yes.
You anticipate changing?
It's possible, but I think we're gonna have to wait. I mean, the village elections are a week earlier, so maybe the governor will do an executive order regarding village elections. We can certainly let the people of the State Board of Elections know that have this election scheduled and ask them if things are coming up where they're having discussions with the governor's office, that they can at least, try to get some mitigation there for us.
Also, both parties in the association are going to ask the governor to reduce the number of signatures. I believe they're talking about it this week. So we are going to lobby the governor on some of these issues.
Great. That's great.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions about this special election resolution? All right, Rich, and then Jonathan has something to add.
Yeah, I came in just when I think Steve was talking about it. How many signatures do you need to get on the ballot for the special?
96 if you're running on an independent line.
But if you're in one of the parties that endorses you, you don't need to do this?
That's correct. They do it by certificate of nomination by the parties.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Jonathan? You're still muted.
Okay, yeah, still muted. My thing went off the screen. Just to be clear, the county says the charter says it has to be within 85 days. I think it is within 85 days. Anna served, I think her resignation was December 31, right? And this is March. Is that right, Kathy?
That's correct.
And this is March 23rd, so I think that's within 85 days, but I don't think we could go further out. It's pretty close to the 85 days.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. Henry?
yes. Steve, you said they had to get 96 signatures within 2 weeks. When is the fifth ward meeting? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay. Does anybody know when the fifth ward is meeting?
The Fifth Ward Democratic Committee, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
To basically endorse somebody, whether
Right.
they have to, Okay.
Rich?
I would just note that this seems to put a pretty big burden on anybody who wants to run as an independent that in a very short time frame. This doesn't seem very fair. But the governor didn't ask me.
It's going to be
Yeah,
very difficult to get signatures.
yeah, it would be very difficult right now. Well, I mean, here's hoping that maybe the Democratic Party will nominate someone and the Republican Party will nominate someone, and then people will at least have a choice. So, all right, Dan.
Just to the question of fairness, I agree with you, Rich. It's not particularly fair. However, we got these accusations of unfairness when you first ran and when Anna ran, and we did what we could, which is to extend the period from 75 days to 85 days. And that was about it. Because of state law that maybe the election commissioners could explain, we weren't able to go further than that. So we made our attempt. We added 10 days to the calendar. It was the best we could do.
We do what we can.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on this? Any other things you want to tell us, Steve or Elizabeth?
Not at this point.
Okay.
We'll just keep you, abreast of what's going on as we know it.
Yeah, and I hope that you both are coming to our regular GEO meeting on Thursday, and if you have more information then that would be great to share with us. We'd very much appreciate any information.
Sure.
All right, are we ready to vote then? Rich?
Well, before we leave this, I assume we're going to get some update, and there was a mention of a calendar on on our process beyond the special?
At our Thursday GO meeting. I'm hoping they'll
Okay.
give us
Okay.
some more info about all elections in 2021.
Yeah, we already have had a communication from the clerk of the legislature. I think it was, no, county clerk, that all the county legislatures are up this year for a 4-year term.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote. Dan,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that passes. So, all right, looking forward to a special election on March 23rd. Thank you. And so the full legislature will be voting on this shortly this evening. And I don't know, Steve and Elizabeth, if you want to be there or need to be there. You certainly can if you want. I think we might be able to answer, the committee members might be able to answer some of the questions now that we have heard from you. Because I think it's at the end of the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Kathy? Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I
if
would
you
finish your
could
call.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll remind the rest of the legislators as well that they are welcome to come to GO on Thursday to ask lots and lots of questions about all the elections.
Sounds great.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's move on to our second resolution, which is to waive renewal requirement for senior disabled real property tax exemption ID 9836. And can I have somebody move that? Dan will move, Mike will second. And Jay is here, hopefully to tell us some positive things about this.
Well, this will be interesting. I assume we moved the amended version.
Actually, we did not. So we need to, let's have you tell us a little bit about it in case people have questions, and then we can do that. I did send everybody the amendment with adding a whereas and taking a whereas out. So we'll make an amendment. Oh, Kathy is shaking her head. I guess maybe you didn't get that. Okay. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Jay, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So a lot of the real property tax exemptions need to be renewed on a yearly basis. So we have about 1,800 seniors and low income disability exemption applicants that need to reapply each year. On December 18th, we mailed out our renewal applications, as we have to do it 60 days before March 1. And then, of course, that night, the governor put out the executive order, which allowed for assessing units to waive that renewal requirement. So that was done in Executive Order 202.83. But since then, when the legislature came back into session on December 28th, the governor, they quickly passed legislation that the governor signed into law, which made this waiver mandatory. So in essence, we don't necessarily have to pass this resolution in order for my office to roll over the exemptions from the 2020 assessment roll to the 2021 assessment roll. However, there are circumstances which we could require a renewal application if we're not satisfied that it's their primary residence, or if they moved, or if they added someone to the deed. So I would want to get that in this resolution, which is why I'm bringing it to your attention, so that if there is that need, I can always refer back to this resolution as to why I'm not rolling forward that exemption this year. But hopefully this will cause a lot of seniors that don't have to come into our office. Like I said, there was about 1,800 combined, which will be nice. They don't have to come here. We don't have to, this sounds horrible, we don't have to accommodate them. by taking in all of their income tax information, making copies. We're more than happy to do so in a normal year. This would have been challenging to do so in a COVID year. So we'll be able to roll forward these exemptions. It doesn't affect any other exemption. So the ag land exemption, the renewal process for the enhanced star exemption, the housing trust, clergy, not-for-profits. So it only applies to the senior and the low-income disability. Since we already mailed out renewal applications, tomorrow we have letters printed and ready to go into the mail, letting people know this change, that there is a waiver. If their income did go down, they can apply to our office with their income tax return. We can look and see if we can get them a larger exemption. It doesn't mean they'll get a smaller exemption if their income went up, but we can at least give them the benefit of the doubt. So we're working through that now, and I just hope people don't get too confused in 2022 when all of a sudden, wait a minute, last year you said we didn't have to apply. So we're trying to toe that line of you don't have to apply, but a lot of people are set in their ways so that if they're very stringent in what they need to do, we're going to have them reapply, just so that they can keep with their routine and next year they don't miss out on an exemption. So.
Okay. Great, thank you. I think Kathy, maybe you didn't get it, but I think Brittany had been on that thread. So I just forwarded you what Jay had sent me for future.
So we'll have to make sure at the legislature meeting that these changes are reported out.
Yep. Henry.
Yes, well, should I move the amendment?
Sure.
Should I move the taking out of one whereas clause and the addition of another whereas clause that we got over email from Amanda?
Do you want to read it or should I read it? I have it in front of me.
Yeah, why don't you read it?
Okay. Well, I had it in front of me. Where'd it go? Okay, so we would be taking out the third whereas, which starts whereas the governing body of the assessing unit can adopt. So that whole whereas would be stricken. And in its place, we're going to have the whereas that says, whereas the governor has since signed into law Chapter 381 of 2020, making the renewal waiver mandatory for all assessing units across New York State. And then, so that's the substitution of that whereas. And then a little bit farther down in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th whereas, it'll say, whereas this, instead of executive order, it'll say law. That's one little substitution. So Henry is moving that. Is there a second to make those changes? Dan will second that. Other questions or comments for Jay?
Yes.
Henry, go ahead.
So Jay, I assume none of the seniors know about this law?
Not right now. The only people who know about this law is people who have called in since the 28th and have said, hey, can I drop off our application? And we've been telling people then, no, you don't need to do so. We'll just roll over your exemption. If you got a lower income this year for 2020, send that down when it's done. But tomorrow in the mail, everyone who got a renewal application is going to get a letter stating you don't need to do anything until it's rolled over for the 2021 roll. Of course, the governor does something the night that I mail out the renewal applications.
Yeah, that was good timing.
Yep, I knew it. I told Jason and Amy that in the morning, so.
And you talked about that there are some people that would not get exemptions that if they moved or something else. How will you deal? How will those people know to deal with you or to do anything?
Yeah, everyone who will have an exemption removed will get a letter from us stating that their exemption will be denied. most of the time, someone tells us that they move. So that's when we send out that notice of denial. You know, they bought a second house or moved to Florida or something like that. So they get the initial determination from us, then they'll have enough time to respond to us if we're wrong. And they can always go to the Board of Assessment Review in May if there's a determination that they still don't like. Those are very, very few and far between. You know, once every 3-4 years, we may get someone who says they still live in their house, but all of the pictures on, you know, the Ithaca Board of Realtors site shows a vacant house. So, you know, that's typically where that goes from.
How many people usually come in a normal year?
We have about 1,800 people that normally have to, and then we'll get, you know, 200 or so new applications each year. This doesn't affect the new applications, just those renewals. When the state took away the enhanced star, that saved us about 3,500 people that had to come into our office each year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So do we have to vote on the amendment and then the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and vote on the amendment? We had a mover and a seconder, so Dan,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I'm yes. Great, so now on the whole resolution with those changes, are there any more questions or anything else you need to say, Jay?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, great, thank you. Let's go ahead and vote. Dan,
Yes.
Henry,
yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I'm yes, so that passes. And this is also on our agenda for tonight. At the end of the meeting, will you be there, Jay, or do you trust us to answer questions about this?
I'll be there at least through the COVID update that we give. And then if I need something, just have Jason text me and I can jump on real quick at home. So
Okay,
that's fine.
great. Well, thank you for explaining this all to us and for all you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
All right, and I think that's all we've got today. So go have an early dinner and we'll see y'all in an hour. All right, we're adjourned. Bye.